self-awareness is the heart of mental wellness. What does that mean to you personally?
So that means that when we truly understand our emotions, our thoughts, and that these have a great impact on our behaviors, we begin to be able to better express ourselves, understand ourselves, and then as parents, I know I think I'm getting ahead a little bit, but as parents, we are role modeling these to our children, and that's
we experience a lot of wreckage in our lives because we don't do the pause to check in with ourselves, and then our children as adults can experience a whole life of wreckage within themselves, all because it wasn't modeled first, right?
Yes.
So in that. Hello, Linwood Unified School District families, and welcome to another Beyond the Classroom podcast, where we get to dive into another important topic, as many of them are. Today we are going to be talking about the importance of uncovering our emotions and the importance of self-awareness for ourselves as well as for the well-being of our children and our families and the overall health of our homes. So today we have a guest speaker, Ms. Gabby Aguayo, who is a licensed clinical social worker here with Linwood Unified School District. She currently provides individual therapy, group therapy, as well as crisis support services to students at Mark Twain Elementary, Rosa Parks Elementary, and Lindbergh Elementary. So she comes to us today with a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we're so grateful that she is with us today. So thank you for being here. I know time is just very valuable and you have so much on your plate, but thank you for taking the time to talk with me and to provide information to our families today.
Yes.
So if you can you just share with us a little bit of your background, your experience, and just share a little bit as to what even brought you into the journey of mental awareness and mental health and wellness.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. A little bit about my background. I have been a clinician therapist for over 10 years. This is my 4th year here at Linwood Unified School District. I really enjoy working with your children, with the families, with parents, caregivers, and with all staff. And it has been a journey, a lot of challenges along the way, but it has been a beautiful journey. So thank you again for having me
thank
here.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
So one of the things that led you into the field of mental health, would you say is what exactly?
I saw that working with people as in improving relationships was going to be a really important factor, and so that's where we come in as marriage family therapists. Improving relationships is something essential for a good mental health,
right?
Because it does affect our, and I know that we'll cover a little bit more about that, but it's a really important part of growing up, our relationships with our families and also with other people.
No,
overall.
I completely agree.
Yes.
I mean, because think about it, like all the adults, you know, we have some form of self-esteem and self-worth, and a lot of that is really built upon within our childhood. And within the childhood, some of the main influences in our lives that build upon our self-worth, our self-esteem, and how we view ourselves, how we love ourselves, how we even treat ourselves, it comes from our home lives and the relationships that we had within the home, primarily with our parents and our main caregivers, right?
Yes, correct.
So I think this topic is so important because relationship truly is the key. Connection with other people is the key for mental wellness. So when you think of the phrase that self-awareness is the heart of mental wellness, what does that mean to you personally?
So that means that when we truly understand our emotions, our thoughts, and that these have a great impact on our behaviors, we begin to be able to better express ourselves, understand ourselves, and then as parents, I know I think I'm getting ahead a little bit, but as parents, we are role modeling these to our children, and that's in essence, is really important because we are their first teachers. As parents, as caregivers, we are their first teachers. And by them seeing us role model, like I understand I accept and I understand my emotions, and then I am okay with my emotions, then I'm able to manage those emotions better.
Right.
So instead of going into more reactive, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to think about what is going to be my next step.
Right.
And I know I moved a little bit ahead of pretty much the topic, but self-awareness is key.
No, that's really good. I think we could even unpack that some more, beginning with like self-awareness and moving into like how we manage our emotions and the importance of role modeling that to our kids. So self-awareness, huge, right? I mean, there's even research about it, even like CEOs, for example, that one of their strongest and main traits as a CEO, people who manage, big businesses and are very successful in life, it's not that they're super smart. It's not that they're going to, be the best mathematician or the best engineering. But the number one trait that they have, according to research, is self-awareness, right? And what is self-awareness? Self-awareness, we see it as a relationship with ourselves. How we relate to ourselves is basically the heart of who we are, right?
Yes.
And I would say a lot of times, self-awareness never stops, but a lot of us, including myself, and I'm sure you too, we're not always practicing self-awareness, growing in self-awareness, or even acknowledging the importance of that. Because in mental health, we know as therapists that the only way we get change to improve our lives, change financially, change with our children's behaviors, it always begins with one key component, and that is self-awareness, right?
Yes.
So how would you recommend that parents go about increasing, improving, or building upon that self-awareness? How can they begin to know themselves better and relate to themselves better before they can improve any other area of their life? Is there like a starting point or something that parents can do to jumpstart the process?
Yeah. So if they are already, talking about feelings and naming the feeling, you already most likely started. But for the parents that haven't, that's where I will recommend starting, like pausing, maybe our child in that moment is having maybe a tantrum, or maybe they don't want to do their homework, they're refusing to do their homework, then I will recommend like pausing, like stopping, and then really checking in, how am I feeling right now? So naming that feeling. And so maybe you're feeling frustrated, maybe you're feeling upset, angry already.
Yeah.
So this helps like you actually name the feeling.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, then we can move to the next step, which will be modeling, right? So
before the modeling is basically like almost like a self-check-in where you're saying it's a pause. And within that pause, you're reflecting on yourself, you're asking yourself questions. And there's an old saying, which is check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? And we experience a lot of wreckage in our lives because we don't do the pause to check in with ourselves. And then our children as adults could experience a whole life of wreckage within themselves, all because it wasn't modeled first, right?
Yes.
So in that pause, it's really the power of the pause of, I feel overwhelmed right now. My child is acting out. Yes. Work is bombarding me. Life it's having its way with me, and it feels like a yo-yo. And basically in that pause, it's like, okay, let me center myself. In the pause, let me see, okay, how am I really feeling?
Yes.
I know I'm going to be reactive and yell at my kid, so just let me walk away for 1 minute, 2 minutes. Yes, he's screaming. Yes, she's crying. Yes, they're throwing themselves on the floor. But I don't want to react in anger. What am I really feeling right now, right? Yes. What am I thinking right now? And in that pause, it's like you get recentered. I think it only takes about no more than 30 seconds to actually compose yourself.
Yes.
And then have a powerful moment with your kid where the situation actually improves. But that all is predicated upon that pause and our self-check-in, right?
Self-check-in.
So why do you think parents might, I don't know, hesitate to take that pause? Why do you think as humans that we're kind of maybe unaware to do it, or maybe even ashamed to do it, or maybe think down of, like, I'm not going to take a pause, I'm just going to be who I am? Like, why do you think that there might be a barrier to us taking that pause?
So a lot of the time, we did not grow up like with like maybe our parents doing that or caregivers doing that. So we probably we've never heard about it. So we bring it now because it's important. It's important for our children because in growing up, they're going to need these skills as they get older, in relationships, at jobs, at overall in school. I mean, they need these skills so that they can also pause when things happen, like problems happen, then they're going to need to take that pause. And if we're role modeling those pauses, then they're also learning that it's okay to pause. It's okay to take a break, to take maybe a few deep breaths before reacting. And then that pause gives them time to think, which is the goal. It's for them to think before they go and do, the reaction.
Right. So what I'm hearing in a way is we tend to continue familiar patterns. Like we do what we saw in the home. And it really goes back to that old saying as well, that our children do what we do, not what we say.
Yes.
And as an adult, if I didn't see my mom or dad model emotional health and model self-awareness, then I, like them, will probably have a similar reaction and a response, right?
Yes.
And that's not a blame. We're not blaming parents or anybody. No. I'm not blaming my parents, but it's really an explanation as to the why. Yes. Why we as parents may not model the pause or the check-in or self-reflect, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now going into the modeling, okay, so if I'm modeling self-awareness, what does self-awareness look like to our children? What does that look like when a parent is actually modeling self-awareness in connection with the managing of their emotions? What are children seeing?
So their children will be seeing that pause. They will see, and then they can hear us. I mean, we can say it, right now I need 5, maybe like 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes, but maybe I can say like, I'm feeling really sad right now or upset right now. So I'm going to take a few minutes, maybe like 1-2 minutes, or I'm going to take a deep breath, right? Right now I think I need to take some deep breaths. So I'm going to model those skills. And then they're seeing it, and then we create that safe space for them so that they know that those are safe feelings. Right. Although they're difficult feelings, they're safe. Yes. So then that ultimately gives us back a child that most likely is going to be doing that in the future. It might take time, of course, right? And then even for us, like if it's new, it might take time.
Yeah. It's a lifelong skill that we need to nurture and grow, right?
Yes.
When our children are seeing the parent role modeling, I think part of what they're seeing is a parent that is in control of themselves. And when a parent is growing, the parent becomes a calm place. Now the child is also experiencing and seeing a safe place, a safe parent, somebody that they can now trust. Oh, mommy's really composed. That's a little different. And not that they're articulating that, but they sense it, and they internally inside themselves, they see the difference in the changes when their parents are growing. And then that eventually allows the children to begin to even open up themselves, right? So why do you think parents might maybe worry about burdening their children if they do share, like what you said, mommy's feeling sad right now, or mommy's feeling really angry right now, so I just need a moment. I'm going to walk away for a minute. Why do you think parents sometimes are a little hesitant or scared to burden their children with identifying that emotion that they're feeling?
Yeah, so a lot of the time, we might feel as parents. Like, I don't want, him to take on, like, information. Maybe we don't want to share information, but it's okay to have intention. So when we're going to share, we're going to be very intentional. So we're going to think about what we're going to share without, of course, oversharing, sharing details, because this can definitely confuse maybe our children, make them feel anxious depending on the situation or what we're sharing. But it could be something like, I had a tough day at work, for example, and like, if you see mommy maybe like not talking right now, then like, mommy just needs a few minutes. Everything's okay. Everything will be okay. But I just need a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes the explanation with that matters, because I know, like, with my child, my son, mommy, are you mad? You look mad right now. And it's like, oh no, I'm not mad at all. But my face is looking serious because I'm deep in my thoughts. So the explanation of why my face looks serious, communicating that to my son, it makes a difference for him, because he's seen my face as mad. Yes. But when I explain it to him, like, oh, no, I just tend to look serious because I think a lot, then it's like, oh, okay, mommy's not mad at me. Like, he's not making interpretations about himself, right?
Yes.
Or other times, like last week, when I experienced sleep deprivation, it literally messes with my mood. So for me, when I don't get enough sleep, the next day I actually feel sad. And so I was explaining that to my son, mommy feels sad. Well, why? Well, I didn't get enough sleep, so it does affect my hormones and my body chemistry, and it makes me feel sad. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how do you feel sad over nothing? It's like, I'm like, hey, you're a boy. I can't get you to understand everything right now. But it's the communication, like literally explaining things to my child opens the door, not just of role modeling for him, but for him to now act upon that too for himself. Of, wow, mommy's not scared to talk to me about things. Yes. And then he doesn't have to sit in the unrest or in the stress of the unknown or make up things in his mind. And that's the power of self-awareness and role modeling and expressing our emotions to our children, is it frees them up.
Their feelings are welcome.
Yes, I love that saying.
They're welcome. Yes.
Yeah, their feelings are welcomed.
And all feelings, because I know we have like really difficult emotions, like frustration, and we have like, we feel very angry sometimes depending on what happened. But if we're sharing with them, not oversharing, like I said, then that's still modeling this also, which is going to help them, because they're going to take this to different settings. Now they'll take it to school, they'll take it to, when they're older, to work. And so just giving them that, like, that role modeling, it's really important.
It gives them permission to be themselves.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's so powerful. How do you think parents can balance opening up while also being like a reassuring figure? Like you said, don't overshare. So that would be an example, right?
Yes.
Of, okay, I'm going to role model openness and articulate and express how I feel without maybe sharing all the particulars of that.
Yes.
Because sometimes when we overshare, then we become insecure figures in the eyes of our children.
And we don't want them to think like, that they have to care for us.
Right.
That they need to support us like that. So that's when the intention comes. So I'm going to share as a role model, like my naming the feeling, and then just letting them know everything's going to be okay, so that we teach them that even though we have problems, we have feelings, then we can work through them. They're going to be worked out. So, and this is teaching a skill for our children.
Really a life skill that is so essential in, I think, in their everyday life as an adult, whether they're going to get married or whether it's a professional relationship. Because, even with not knowing how to relate as children or young teenagers, when they're not learning these skills, their relationships can suffer.
They can.
And it could be a lifelong pattern and a lifelong problem, right?
Yes.
So when they're realizing, okay, what am I bringing to the plate? And you can only do that with self-awareness. How am I contributing to my relationship problems? What can I do to make things different or do something different within myself? Right? And that all starts with self-awareness. What are some signs, Gabby, that a parent might not be practicing self-awareness What does that look like in the home?
So sometimes it could be something like, let's say that like the milk spilled, and it's something like that doesn't seem like it's a big thing, or maybe like the rooms are messy, and then we start like screaming right away. So we sometimes we call it snap, right? We react right away. So that's something. That's one cue to know, like, hey, like, you know, I overreacted. Like something's happening, like, you know, it's something maybe that I haven't worked on, but we want to do it as observation, not as judgment for ourselves, because that itself is already helping us understand like something, you know, I have to check myself. I have to go back to self-awareness so that I can understand what's happening.
Yeah, because it's so easy to judge our kids when we're feeling overwhelmed, and then judge ourselves because of how we reacted, right?
Yes,
so the example of spilt milk.
Yes.
Don't cry over spilt milk. We've heard that saying so many times.
Yes.
But it's so true, because how difficult is it to go wipe down the milk? Now, that's even a learning lesson with your child. Okay, we're going to clean it up together, right?
Yes.
But when we're overreacting and we're snapping, those are all signs. Actually, those are signs of a burned out parent. When we're in this constant state of yelling, screaming, minimizing, trivializing, judging our family members, judging our kids, judging ourselves, mistreating other people, those are often signs of somebody that is overworked, overstimulated, overwhelmed, overstressed. And it's important that we take a look at not just the manifestation of basically like what you could see on the outside. What everybody else can see, that's one thing. But we know there's something inside of us that even within ourselves, we have the emotional signals that are saying, hey, something's off right here.
Yes.
Right? So when a parent is screaming at their kids, okay, what is off in me that I feel like it's okay to yell and scream at a 4-year-old or my 10-year-old? Why am I so triggered?
Yes. So what is it that's happening? There is something. So also another one is physical symptoms. Sometimes we start feeling like maybe our shoulders up tight, they're feeling tight. Also like maybe like stomach aches. It could come as a lot of the times our body's telling us that we need to pretty much go back, take that pause, and think about what is causing this. So what is the root of this?
No, it's so true.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting, and I think self-disclosure is so important here, right? And I remember earlier this year, I was experiencing a lot of chronic ear pain. And I was getting, internally, I was getting scared and anxious of like, you know, your mind jumps to like the worst case scenario. And I automatically, oh my gosh, this is a brain tumor. Because the pain was so persistent. It was all day, every day. We're talking about 3-4 months. And I went to the urgent care, I went to the ER, like, okay, I need to see what is going on. And after multiple visits, they're like, okay, you need to go see a specialist now. And we got to figure out what's going on. Yes. And the pain was not subsiding. The like just over-the-counter medication wasn't helping me. And I went to go see a specialist, a neurologist. And she's like, okay, I'm going to inspect you with a fine-tooth comb. They looked inside my throat and my nose, and then they sent me in for like an MRI. You know, the big tubes that you have to lay in, and you get sent inside. And they did brain scans, throat scans. But one thing she told me was this. She said, if everything comes out clear and there's nothing wrong with you, she's like, there's something you have to change in your everyday life that is stressing you out. Yeah. You know, and what I learned from this was that I was under so much stress that my stress was converting itself into physical symptoms. What I didn't know was, I know a lot about stress as therapists, right? But what I didn't know was that when I'm under extreme stress, there's a decrease in blood flow to your ears. And that can cause significant ear pain. So it wasn't dental related, because I was seeing my dentist to see what's going on, if that was contributing. The neurologist, like, everything was clear. There's no brain tumor. But it was a sign that my body was responding to stress, and it was showing me that I was under a lot of stress by having chronic ear pain for months and months, all because stress affects blood flow to one certain part of the body. So when you're talking about body scanning, like, our bodies, they don't betray us. Our bodies share information about what we are really experiencing in everyday life: mental stress, family stress, financial stress. And so I agree with you when you're saying, okay, let's take a moment and pause and look at how my body feels today.
Yes.
Do my legs hurt? Does my stomach hurt? Does my chest feel tight? Does it hurt? Am I having heart palpitations? Are my shoulders and my muscles, are they hurting? Like the body stores all of this information and it informs us beautifully if we take the pause and really reflect on why am I doing what am I doing, or why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling, right? And then you could address, you know, the root of the problem or the root of the issue. And that's what our kids need to see.
Yes.
On a daily basis, is that honesty with ourselves.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Yes. And then like, you know, I know that, like, you know, with body symptoms, like, you know, a lot of the times it could go into feeling anxious. It could go into other things too, because it's like body, but then like, you know, I know that you learn more information. I mean, we always want to go to the doctor, of course, to rule out any medical conditions that we might have. But then once they get ruled out, then it tells us.
It goes back to us.
It goes back to us.
Yeah. And so we have to make the changes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, let me try A. Okay, well, A didn't work out and I'm still feeling this way, so let me try B. Okay, B is not helping me, let me try C. And that could look different for everybody. But basically, like deductive reasoning is, I think what I'm trying to get at is like we can make a list of things that might help us out, and it's not a one size fits all. Like not what works for me as a tool to help me might not work for you. Yes. But we have to kind of experiment, like trial and error. What will help us to feel better and to think better and to react better, so we could be our best version of ourselves, for ourselves, but also our children and our spouses and our partners and our families, right?
Yes. And then with that, I know that it's actually really important that if we haven't ever done it, like, you know, really sat with our emotions, with our feelings, taken a pause, that once we start doing it and it becomes more like a habit, you know, we're doing it like, you know, every day, then our children are going to notice this and they're going to try to come in, and then they're going to feel that it's safe. But it's okay if they don't start right away talking about their emotions, about their feelings. Maybe they just need, like, you know, and we can ask them, do you need a hug? Do you need a moment in silence? Do you want to talk about it? So giving them that safe space is going to create the long term, which is they're going to start feeling like, oh, it's okay for me to for me to have these feelings and these emotions.
So you're talking about like creating safe spaces at home for your children.
Yes, and then that creates bonding as well. And we don't have to do it like, you know, out of the routine. It could be like, you know, on a drive, right? And usually they open up more when we're like not doing something like, you know, we're going to plan this talk. We're going to do it more organic, like more like, let's go, like, you know, we're driving, mealtime, maybe bedtime. Like, you know, tell me, how was your day? Like, maybe not how was your day, but more like, what was good about your day, or what was bad about, like, you know, what did you notice that was not a good
get them
day?
to open up.
Yes. And we definitely want to ask about the good too, of course, right?
You know, that's a good point. I know sometimes, I don't do it all the time, but with my son, sometimes I'll check in with him. Tell me one thing that was fun about your day at school today. Because I know if I ask him, oh, how was your day today? Good. Fine. I get the one word response. Yes. And I'm like, I want us to interact and to let's talk, let's connect, let's bond. Yes. And sometimes I just have to be aware of, like, okay, he just needs some space. He had a long day at school. But it's those questions that are not open-ended. I'm sorry, that are closed-ended that help our children to open up.
Yeah, and even with, like, for example, my daughter, like, I do have, you know, a middle school. And like I started, like, you know, not too long. I want to say when I started in the field more, because that's when you start, like, you know, getting more information, learning more. When I started initially, she was kind of like, oh, like, you're asking me about a good thing, like, you know. So she found it like, why is she asking me, you know? So it became more like a habit, and now she does it by herself. So now she'll tell me, this was good about my day, this was bad about my day. Now she's a chatterbox, and she was, but I think I opened up that safe space that now, and then I try my best to role model as well, because, you know, sometimes, you know, us as parents, like, I mean, we can kind of go into, oh, even being a professional, sometimes
absolutely.
I can go into that, like, did I just, kind of like almost snap, or I snapped? And so I go back, and it's okay to say, like, hey, I'm sorry, like, and then because I go back and check up on myself, check in with myself to see what happened, like, what caused this reaction. And maybe it could be like, something like, it was a tough day at work. And then I just kind of been holding this all day. So then I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, like, and I've been practicing that for a long time, that it became a habit now.
It's so important because you're not just role modeling healthy traits of how to honor yourself and love yourself. You're also teaching your children how to live and practice repairing relationships. And if we don't live in that moment of authenticity and humility and go to our children and say, I'm sorry, I did this and it was wrong, or I hurt you. The children don't learn how to repair relationships, and they don't know how to go back and say, I'm sorry. I just did this with my son last week. It was on a Sunday. I don't know, I think I was just having like a mommy emotional moment. And he was at the table, like just eating, and I kind of like blindsided him. I'm like, baby, I'm so sorry that I'm not a perfect mom. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, I'm just sorry. Like, I know I'm not perfect. I do the best I can, and I know I have my moments that I fail you and that I hurt you, and I'm just sorry for the times. Nothing had happened, like, in that week or that moment. Like, there wasn't like a mommy hiccup, but I think I was just reflecting of past moments. And just in that moment, I just want to let you know, I'm just sorry. I want to do better for you, and I want to do better by you. And it was like, oh, okay.
And we always want to do better as parents, like,
Absolutely.
And then you like noticing, and then you're like, reflecting on that already says that you're a good parent, right? Because you're already like going back and thinking about, like, maybe like, like, I want to improve, I want to do this. So you have like a list maybe of things, but then just like thinking about it, like, am I doing good? Am I a good parent? That itself is already, you're a good parent.
Oh, thank you.
You're a good
That's
parent.
what I was trying to get there. But no, I think it's so important I think parents in general, I think sometimes we live in this place of guilting ourselves as if like we're not doing enough for our kids, or we're not enough for our kids. And I think the important place for a parent to be in is always living in a place of having compassion for yourself. And you said it earlier, not judging your children and not judging yourself, and practicing self-compassion, because we're never going to be perfect, right? And we could read all the parenting books in the world. We could go to school about parenting, but it's not the knowledge. Knowledge is important, but it's not the knowledge that gets us there. It's, you highlighted it earlier, you used the word intention. It's when we're doing and practicing that is where the flood of change comes from, where we grow as parents and our children grow as amazing, beautiful human beings that they are. But it really boils down to compassion. Yes. Compassion towards ourselves. So all the parents out there struggling with feeling like you're not good enough, and hey, like, we are all imperfect, and we all can learn from our own mistakes as parents, but also having self-compassion. Like, I want to grow. I want to do better. I want to be better for our kids. And it really begins with a place of having love for ourselves. And again, it goes back to self-awareness, which is, self-awareness is a relationship with ourselves, with the heart of ourselves. That is really where we can start practicing self-compassion.
Yes.
So what are...
And then,
go ahead.
I know that, like, a lot of the times as parents, it's hard for us to see our children hurt. So a lot of the times, if we see them upset or mad, we don't want them to feel that way. It's just like a natural, like,
you want to take it out
thing,
of them.
like, I just want you to feel better. So a lot of the times, because of that, it's important to do the self-awareness and remind ourselves that feelings are normal. Yeah. We all have feelings, like age, like, grown-ups, of course, we all have those emotions, those feelings, but normalizing feelings is key as well. And remembering, like, it hurts when we see them crying, when we see them, like, upset, but allowing that space for them is really important. Like, either the space or the talk about it, or do you need a hug, like I said. It's important.
It's not us stepping in and taking care of whatever that situation is, right? Because we don't want to impair their ability to maybe figure some things out, giving them an opportunity of to figure themselves out or to figure the solution out in that moment. But this is, as parents, we come in, and rather than saving the day, we come in and connect and bond with them and align ourselves with them to empower them to figure whatever that situation is, right? We're not saving them. Again, this is all by age and maturity and development, how much we insert ourselves. But kids they always need their mom and they always need their dad, whether they're 10 or even 19. You know, we have a little bit of control over our kids when they're really, really young. And then late teens and adult life, we have no control. And as parents, it's so important that in those moments that our child needs us, that we do come in and support them and align ourselves with them. But that control turns into where we become inspirational figures for them, right? We relinquish the control, help them to be successfully independent, beginning really around 13, 14, 15, but that being done in a way that's healthy for them, it's where we continue to guide them and be inspirational to them. Right? So we're always needing to connect.
And then the goal is independence, because we're not always going to be there. And that's the thing. If we're not always going to be there, it's important that self-awareness is so important, and such an important part that our caregivers or parents are role modeling these, because then that helps with the relationships. It helps overall with problem-solving skills, conflict resolution in every setting.
And you're living that firsthand right now, right? Your daughter just graduated from high school and she's going to college. And so I think you're literally talking from real life experience that now, you know, she's independent and you can't go and save the day. But to get to that point, you had to instill in her all of these moments of connecting, of bonding, of talking, of routines, of structure, of role modeling emotional well-being, role modeling self-awareness, role modeling the pause, role modeling the checking in, and kind of knowing when to step back. Like, you literally have lived all of this. If there's one thing that we could leave with parents today, you know, every podcast ends with a take-home challenge. If there was something that you could suggest to our parents who are so not used to talking about their feelings, and they feel so uncomfortable talking about their emotions, or even maybe their innermost thoughts, but they do sense and know that it's good and well for them to begin at some place, and they want to start today, what would be one thing that you would suggest for them to maybe practice or start this week?
So I would definitely recommend check-in.
A check-in.
With them. With who? With themselves.
With themselves.
So check in with yourself and name that feeling. Explore. How am I feeling right now? And that's the start.
And that can be done anywhere.
That's the start. It can be done anywhere. It can be I'm watching this podcast while cooking. I'm going to kind of really think about how am I feeling right now. Or I'm brushing my teeth. I'm drinking a cup of coffee maybe. So we're driving. So then how am I feeling right now? That already helps with the naming of the feeling and really what is my energy right now? And that's the start. I mean, I can talk about, I can talk about journaling, I can talk about different things, but to be self-aware, that's the first step. Yes, and remembering that that's going to help us understand ourselves, express ourselves, and manage problems as well, issues that come along, and we'll be able to role model those back to our children. So it's all about us first.
Well, thank you, Gabby, so much for being here today and for all the information you shared today. So parents, as she's suggesting, we encourage you, go ahead and begin your check-ins today. You could do it on the hour, every hour throughout your day, no matter where you're at, who you're with. It could be such a private, personal moment that nobody even knows that you're doing. But that check-in is a good starting point for you to build your own self-awareness and begin to discover who you are and the heart of who you are. We hope that this podcast resonated with you and strengthened you and encouraged you today. Please remember, you are not alone. If you have any questions about mental health and mental wellness, and that you would like services or some type of guidance for your family, please reach out to the Student Services Department or speak to your local licensed clinical social worker at your student student's school, or you could even ask to speak to a social emotional learning specialist. Just know that we are here for you, and I do hope that you're able to check in with future podcasts. So thank you so much, Linwood Unified School District families, for being with us today. Have a good day.